Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
And I'm Mike DeLisio.
And today we're taking a look at Regicide Legacy. So Regicide is a public domain game of sorts that came out that you used a regular deck of cards to fight the royals in that deck with the rest of the deck. It was a cooperative game and or solo game and very popular, and Badgers from Mars published their own version of it with, special looking cards. And then they kickstarted this Regicide Legacy, which I have played through and Mike has played through. And so we're going to talk about that here. Now, unfortunately, every Legacy game comes with spoilers.
Yeah.
It seems like every game has spoilers these days, a board game. But we're going to try to talk. There's a couple minor things that we need to talk about in a review that I don't know how we can avoid talking about them. But we're also going to, once the credits are closed, we'll do some spoiler talks. Once the credits hit, if you don't want spoilers, get out. But then we'll talk about a few things that we want to go through at the very end. But for now, if you've never heard of Regicide, let me kind of show you a little bit about how it works. I'm not going to spoil everything about this game, or almost anything if possible. I'm going to show you in the box. There's 12 boxes. These are the 12 missions you play through, with some other boxes that might be open or will be opened. I've opened here this first box, and this is essentially the base game of Regicide. There are some differences. Instead of ace, queens, and kings, now the bad guys here, at least in mission 1, are they have 4 different symbols, which are no longer the hearts and diamonds, etc., but symbols that match the abilities. It also shows how much they attack for and their hit points here. And each mission will come with a stat showing you the enemies that you have to defeat. Players will have a deck of cards which is sleeved because these cards can change over the course of the game. The cards are from ace to 10 and are of the 4 different suits. These cards can be dealt to different players based on the number of players, how many cards you get, and you're going to be using them to defeat these bad guys. So you put a token to show how many hit points the bad guy has, and on a player's turn, they're going to make an attack with the cards from their hand. Now, usually you can play a single card, although you are allowed to play multiple cards of the small numbers. Let's say I have 3 threes, I could play all 3 of those together, and the aces can be combined with any card. But let's say I just play a single card here. This then is 9, so it does 9 damage to the bad guy, who's then going to deal 10 damage to me. And then I will have to discard 10 cards from my hand, or for other people's hands. So you want to make sure that you don't lose so many cards that you're out of the game. Now, 10 doesn't mean 10 cards. I could discard all 3 of these. 3 plus 4 plus 3 is 10. But there are other things that can be done. Whenever you play a card with a shield, that's going to block a certain amount. That would block 3. I'll put this here just to show that, this token. And so he would only be doing 7 damage to me. This will heal me, which will take cards that I've lost from the discard pile and put them on the bottom of the deck. This card here doubles my attack, and then the violin card, the bard cards, let me draw more cards, which is the only way. So this one will let me draw 9 cards or up to hand limit amongst all the players. Now, what I might have done in this case, though, is I might have played the ace and the 9 together. Now, this would let me draw 10 cards and do double damage for 20, with one small exception. Normally that would work, but because this guy has the axe, he's immune to this. But if we were attacking this person here, each one of them is immune to the special ability, I would do 20 damage and kill this guy in one shot. Many times in this game, when you kill people in one shot, sometimes they will come into your deck and join you. Sometimes they go to the banish pile. There's all different sorts of things. And I don't want to really spoil how all the enemies work. But in the original game, these people will come and join you in your discard pile, where you have to heal them to get them in. But if you kill them exactly, they'll go on top of your deck. Now, that's some very, very base rules with the very special abilities. Each mission is going to add so many different things, and there's so much going on. But if you lose, you're going to be able to add some mercenaries to your deck, which come from this box here. I'm not going to spoil what they do, but they make your deck a little better. And you'll keep playing through until the mercenaries you have are so strong, you will eventually beat the mission and go to the next one. Most of the missions come with a foil pack here, which has cards and different things that are going to help you out. There's rules, and I can show you these are the basic rules, but there are so many stickers and things that are in these rules that will add stuff, and there's stickers that will possibly go on cards and things. I don't want to spoil all that, but I will say resoundingly that when you are done with the 12th one, there is a way to continually play the game, and in fact, there's a way to continually generate random missions that you can play that feel fairly different from one another. So I played a lot of Regicide going through this. You do not play 12 games because I think the first time you go through each of these games, it's pretty hard. But before I jump into that, I want to say I am so impressed with this production. This production is top notch. If I just wanted to play Regicide, this would be a good way to do it.
It might be one of the best productions of the year so far, and yeah, I think that this is already we're pretty far into the year in the running for one of the best productions of the year. Everything about it is top notch. Couple of tiny little errors as far as like putting a sticker someplace and it was giving you the wrong spot, but other than that, like it was a really top notch production.
There's one problem I did have with it, though, that was a minor thing, is that they gave you, there are two different types of sleeves. Sometimes cards get cursed or whatever. You'll find out about that during the campaign. And then when those cards come up, you're supposed to do stuff. And I missed them a lot because they looked very similar to the regular cards. You had to be actively looking for them. I think they could have made them look very different.
Yeah, I do agree with that. They could have been a bit more differentiated. And I did have that happen to me on more than one occasion where it's like, oh, that's a corrupted card. Yeah.
But I will say, I love, for me, just playing Regicide, so easy remembering what each suit does. The shield blocks. I don't remember. Oh, yes. Spades is the one that does that and stuff. I know that a spade looks a little like a shield, and the club is something you hit people with, blah, blah, blah. If you've never played Regicide before, when you play this for the first time, you're going to get thrown off a bit because you need to learn how the waves work. Like drawing cards is so critical. And to the point where they tell you if nobody draws any cards in the first round, if all your starting hands have no ways to draw cards or no bards to draw cards, then restart. And I would do that, right? You can use a joker to get around that. But yeah, I have never beat regular Regicide. I've never beaten it.
I had never played Regicide before this. I was certainly familiar with it because it's been spoken of in very high terms in the solo gaming community. But I was aware of it and had never played it. And yeah, I'm going to echo what you said. It's a very difficult game. 12 games, like you said, you may be playing 12 games on a certain chapter. It really can be very difficult. And card draw is unfortunately a part of that. You know, you could just have a pretty rough starting draw. And like you said, you get to a point where you look and you're like, we may just want to mulligan this and start from the beginning. One thing I did want to point out, we were talking about the production. One thing we didn't mention is that since you said this is really, at least the core game, a standard deck of cards, the art on all of these cards are outstanding. I guess the artist is called Sketch Goblin. He must be, I think he's a New Zealand-based artist. And wow, does this game look tremendous. For a game that really is cards, it looks great.
I also didn't hate the story. I thought that the story, it's on cards, and it's not like a really deep story, but it was a nice little story. But like I said, the game is hard, and I mentioned this briefly in the overview, and this is like the slightest of spoilers, but after the first time you lose, you open a mercenary box, and that gives you have a coin to hire a mercenary. And some of the mercenaries in there cost 2 or 3 coins, but these are good cards. They're upgrades of better cards, and you throw one in your deck, and then you lose again. And now, for your next game, you have 2 coins, but also keep that mercenary you already hired. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. At some point, you're going to win. At some point, your deck's going to get... And so I don't feel any shame in that. It's more of a, how many times can we play through? And I almost won one of the missions on the first time through. Because it's the way... I wasn't expecting... So this is not a spoiler either, but you fight the kings and queens and jacks in the first one, and that's it. After that, your enemy changes every box. Mm-hmm. And so I was so used to playing Regicide, playing against that. And so the first time, the second box, some new enemies came out, and I was like, well, I got this. And then realized, no, I had to play a completely different way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. It's a game that you kind of learn that core system. And like you said, you learn how important card draw is and kind of, how to work around the immunities that the enemies might have to the different classes. And that's a pretty good learning curve in and of itself. And then once you start to feel comfortable with that, they throw you a curveball and you've got a completely new puzzle you've got to try to solve. And they will dole out boons that are great. Yes. Sometimes you come across these, against minor spoiler, you come across new classes that join your party, and it's like, oh my God, I love this. This is great. But you better be sure that enemy that you're facing is going to do something that makes it so that you're not just wiping the floor with them. Because, I never actually got through and won my first playthrough on any of these chapters. And some took several plays to get through. Well, so yeah,
we're not gonna talk about that.
No.
I will say though, each box felt very different. Yeah. They would introduce something new, something cool for you, and I'm like, yeah, what are you gonna do now? Oh no! And so the bad guys, but I felt that it was cool. There was a couple things they did, and I'll talk more about this in the spoiler section, where they introduced something, and then I thought they kind of pulled back on it. And it wasn't as exciting the rest of the game round. Yeah. But another thing I am really, really impressed with the post-legacy part of this game.
Yes.
It's really well done. You can kind of customize your game, and I don't want to spoil too much, but they use elements from all the boxes, so I'm glad I didn't throw anything away. Mm-hmm. And it's just a very impressive, and I think it's a good way, if you like Regicide, you could play it forever with the post-legacy part.
Yeah, the thing that I think I'm most impressed with this as a package is that you take a game that was a standard deck of cards, right? Cool system to get a cooperative game out of it. Really cool, but seemingly pretty limited, right? It's like, okay, this is really neat what it's doing, but this is all it's doing. This box takes that core system and it just goes into it's amazing to me how much design space they got out of this initial core kind of mechanic that they came up with for this. Super impressed by that, and agree with you that the replayable thing is not an afterthought. It's a really well done, and I think that's important because you take a game that was a deck of cards that you could play with a standard deck of cards, and this is a pricey product. But the amount of content you're getting in this, it's a very reasonable price, I think, for what you get.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. I will say that I'm a bit regicided out.
Yes.
I played it like 80 times or whatever. Mm-hmm. And also, as a side note, I played this solo. I wanted to play through, and to me, I know you can play it with other people, and that's cool, but it works really well for me to sit there as a puzzle and look at the cards I have, think about them. I can lay them out in front of me and not have to worry about information. I just lay my cards out and do it. So someone else will have to speak on the multiplayer, but for a solo campaign, this is hours and hours. I normally don't love cooperative games or solo games that are this hard. But the mercenary deck alleviates that because I will eventually win. And it's the mercenary deck mixed with eventually I'll get a draw where you're like, well, but I just, going through this experience was a really entertaining time for me. It was a fun fantasy world. There's a few story beats I didn't love. And maybe I'll mention some of that in the spoiler section. But I think if you've never played Regicide, you can start here because the first box is regular Regicide, and you can play that a lot before you go farther in the game. And if you like Regicide, you're going to love this. For me, it's an 8.5, a very enjoyable experience.
Yeah, not much to add to that, Tom. I agree. I also played it through solo. I have a strong sense that the best way to play this is going to be that because it's a significant amount of time to get through this, and it can be hard sometimes unless you have like a regular gaming partner. It's a spouse, sure. a sibling, whatever. But yeah, just super, super impressive. I'm actually coming at a 9, just because again, everything about it I think is outstanding. This core element that was clever in and of itself that they've expanded into this really expansive experience. Good quality, really good quality production, tons of gameplay, fantastic look to it. So a 9 for me. I think we're really close. The difference between 8.5 and a 9 is whatever, but I think we both say this is a outstanding solo gaming experience, potentially multiplayer too.
All right, well, there you go, folks. That's Regicide Legacy. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Mike Delisio.
And if you don't want spoilers, stop the video now. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel. Hey, we're back with spoilers. Remember, you've been warned. But this is for those of you who played the game and want to talk about it a bit more. I really liked the 5th class, the Mage. Although it was crazy. It was kind of crazy on how powerful it is, but it's also taking cards out of your deck.
Yes.
And I think I keep saying the 5th class, and you're like, well, isn't there like 4 other classes? Sort of, but they would bring them in, and then you'd keep, what, 3 of the cards? Yeah,
exactly. Like after the campaign would be over, sometimes you'd only keep 1 of them. There'd be 3, and you'd keep 1. The other 2 would stay behind, so to speak. And so, yeah, I had a feeling, because I think the Mages it's a really cool class too, but I had a feeling while I was playing, I'm like, I bet Tom likes this because there was another class also, I don't know why I'm struggling to think of which one specifically, where you basically essentially call a number.
Oh, the Reaver.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a neat mechanic because it's a little bit of a push your luck thing, right? It's you're hoping to get some good cards. You're probably going to get a good card, but then, like you said, you're thinning your deck. I think that's a really clever aspect of the game. So yeah, Mages are cool.
And I don't think the game is too hard when you look at all this stuff at the end. I'm looking at the different things, but I will say, as much as I liked some of the new things, I found that I would forget to use the relics, and that really irritated me. I'm like, I could have used that relic term. That relic they give you almost right away, where you can basically put a card out of your hand.
Yeah.
That's so handy. The number of games I forgot are more than 10.
Yeah.
I should have taken a card out of my hand.
Yeah, those are easy to forget, and some of them are great too. So you're right. That's a little bit of a thing. Do you feel? To me, the biggest kind of I thought there were like a couple of story beats that were the biggest surprise. To me, the biggest surprise was when the corrupted turned against you. What was your thought on that?
Oh, I didn't like that at all.
I thought you might not. That's why I asked you. I'm not saying it was my favorite. I'm saying to me it was the biggest.
No. It was a good story beat, but I was like, the whole time I was like, I don't really care who's corrupted. Whatever. Yep. Who cares?
Yep.
It's not that big of a deal.
Right. And then it becomes a big deal.
I did think it was silly the one time they're like, add this card to your deck. And I was like, this guy's amazing. And then, like, the next box are like, he's now a bad guy. I'm like, then why did I put him in my deck?
Right.
Come on.
Exactly. Don't waste
my time on this. But
Right.
I did like my dual class cards. I just love them as they were coming out. I was so happy with those.
Yeah.
And
then you come across, what is it?
Beasts were so much fun.
The beasts were very cool. I liked that. And then you come across, what is it, Durek, whatever, the Evergreen, who, he's going to become the Evergreen. And that was really cool, too, where he just pretty much every story beat, he gets a new class, until he becomes basically every class. So that was kind of fun, too.
Yes, that was a lot of fun. Until they yanked that rug. They really like yanking rugs in this one.
They do.
But I thought the final boss was crazy hard.
Yes.
But there were some really fun bosses. I think my favorite, it was in box 2, the Hydras, was such a fun boss that you had to kill them exactly or they just kept coming back. And that was a fun, it felt different. And at first I was like, this is easy. Oh, no, it's hard.
Yeah, it was a neat twist. I thought the statues were a neat kind of boss. They were always doing something, right? That was a little bit of a hook. I will say that by towards the end of the game, there was so much you had to keep track of. There was a lot of trackable information you needed to kind of be aware of at the end. And I think that's why it became more likely that you're going to forget doing taking advantage of some of those relics, things along those lines, because there's so much you have to consider. It's like, okay, well, now all the cards in the mission zone are adding strength, and I have to make sure that I'm doing the right thing when an enemy is defeated and it goes in the right place and it's doing, that got a little bit tiring towards the end, but it's in service of some pretty cool mechanical things they pulled off.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I remember the penultimate boss. I got to them and I was like, you know what? After I lost so badly the first one, I'm like, I also lost my next 5 games. All right, mercenaries, let's go.
Let's get some mercenaries in here.
To lose again, and I still lost that game too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the mercenary thing was fun. The corrupted stuff was okay. The new class was, like I said, I liked all the new classes. They were interesting, but the mages was the one that you kept the whole game. So for 5, and I found that whole idea of really powerful, but a glass cannon of sorts, that added a lot. And I would sit there and Mike, you said I like this stuff, and I do, but I also sat and thought, I got to be careful doing this. Do I really, and is it worth me blowing this guy away, or do I want to do exact damage? That exact damage and how they changed what it does over the course of the game, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
There was also sometimes the one boss that kept adding and getting more powerful because you kept flipping cards, and that it was just so neat. Like I think I could have paused on any of these boxes and then be like, this is the game.
Right.
So when you play Pandemic Legacy the first time, there's some major changes. This one has a major change every box.
Yeah, it really did.
The disadvantage is there's a lot of cards when you're done that you're not going to ever use again. And I went through personally at the end for all the different variations on how to play the final games after the 12 to make sure I had all those cards and had them in the right boxes, because it will say, pull this card from box 5, pull this card from box 7. I wanted to make sure I had all those in the right boxes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really neat. And I know I said that I'm, regicided out, but I'll come back to this. I'm going to stick it in our library on the shelf to play. So a very fun and a very impressive feat.
Yeah, it is. And I'm with you. I need to take a little bit of a break from it because it was kind of an intense, period of play. But the Evergreen mode is very, very cool. And I kind of flipped through to kind of see what different things you can do. I haven't come near to playing, a bunch of them, but it looks like there's some really neat little twists even in that too. So yeah, really cool.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. That's our spoiler stuff. Thanks again for watching. Once again, I'm Tom.
I'm Mike.
We'll see you.
Bye.